Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this first session in the premiere stage. Just a quick word about the fire alarm. It's not due to go off today, so if it does go off, it's not a drill, it's real. And all you have to do is make your way as quickly and safely as you possibly can into the car park, and there should be staff on hand to help you get there. Okay, so we'll get going. Good morning, Borodar. I'm Josie Darby, and welcome to this, the premiere stage at Wales Tech Week 2023. This stage will feature actionable, audience-focused sessions to inspire and inform you on key ways technology can transform your business or organization. We have an exceptional lineup of industry experts for you today, focused on the application of technology in manufacturing and processing. This morning's panel is the evolution of the smart factory, manufacturing in the next decade, in collaboration with Sony UK Technology Centre. In this session, we're going to consider the opportunities and the challenges that face all manufacturers, but particularly SMEs, in the next decade, including the need to develop new skills and adapt to changing consumer demands. Chairing this session is Philipa Glover, Industry Manager for UK and Ireland at OMRON. Philipa leads OMRON's business development teams that are focused on fast-moving consumer goods, life sciences, e-mobility, digital industries, logistics, and warehousing, as well as guiding OMRON's industry strategy. Before this, she was the managing director of an SME robotic system integrator business. Philipa's passionate about collaborating with the manufacturing community to address pressing issues that community may shape its future. She serves on several national and regional industry boards, including Make UK, Innovate UK. She's a Made Smarter commissioner and a passionate advocate of the sector. So please, will you join me in welcoming Philipa Forrester to the stage? Philipa Glover, sorry. I used to work with Philipa Forrester.
Hi everyone, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So before we start, I'll just introduce you to our panellists. So we've got Dr. Nandini from the Manufacturing Technology Centre, who currently leads the Digital Engineering Group at MTC. And she's got over 25 years experience from a technology background, including Samsung, Motorola and Hawaii Technologies. Nandini's kind of really passionate about kind of the next generation, and one of the things we'll be exploring in this kind of panel this morning is around how that also plays from a smart manufacturing perspective. We're also joined online by Barry Maybank, who is a Senior Director for UK and Ireland and Europe, and is specialist in kind of transforming manufacturing. Prior to that, he was the Chief Technology Officer at MTC, and has held a number of industry leadership roles across manufacturing and technology, really looking at kind of strategic transformation. And then finally, we've got Oliver Conger, who is the Managing Director from a south-west manufacturer, British Rototherm, here in Wales. So he is also one of the founding members of Manufacturing Wales, and is incredibly passionate about how we can get more businesses on the digitalisation journey, and particularly around how operational excellence will play a key role in that, making things a little bit better every single day. So I just wanted to start with a question for Oliver, actually. So, you know, from an SME perspective, when we talk about smart manufacturing, what does smart manufacturing mean to you and your business? And where are you currently? And what do you see as the future over the next 10 years for British Rototherm?
Small question to start with there, Philipa. Yeah, for us, the term smart manufacturing's changed for me personally over the last 5-6 years. So I really came about hearing, Industry 4.0, the need to digitalize everything in your shop floor, in your front office. And I didn't really know what it meant, to be honest, back 5 or 6 years ago. So we decided to get our toes wet and try some things in the digitalization. We brought in new tools, front office software, we brought in some of the basic Microsoft applications, and we started learning. So a big part of Rototherm is continuous improvement. All our people every day are encouraged to learn. You don't just come to work to do your job, you come to work to improve your job. So as we've learned, our opinion of a smart factory has changed, and I think it will continue to change. Where we are currently is the need to take our manual information that we're tracking and make it more available digitally to make datas quicker, take decisions quicker and more effectively. So that's one area we're looking at. How can we make our processes more efficient? Certainly the front office processes, anything from the invoicing, from loading orders, from making purchases, from loading engineering drawings straight onto our CNCs. How can we automate some of those or semi-automate it? And then in terms of our quality control, so you're making our processes more robust, how do we increase that quality control and also at the same time do it in a sustainable way? So as I see the smart factory, at the moment, my own view, 2023, it's very connected. It is digital. More and more things in our place are becoming digital, and we are improving our agility every day. So our customers are becoming more demanding. Instead of they wanting it in 4 weeks or 6 weeks, they want it tomorrow. Instead of they wanting the answer to a inquiry in a couple of days, they want it in 30 minutes. If they want an order processing, they want it processed in seconds. So we see the agility as a real pressure on us. But those three areas, connected, digital, agile, are three areas where we really see the smart factory of the future.
And Barry, can I invite you into this conversation? So from your role at Avande and I suppose working kind of previously at MTC as that kind of chief digital officer, what are some of the potential kind of roadblocks, but then how, for SMEs, and how can we see that as opportunities for the future? And how can businesses kind of really navigate that over the next period? Because when we talk about connectivity, there's a discussion that we were having over dinner last night is that there's 5G, there's 6G, there's 7G. What does that really look like? Can you provide some perspective there?
Yeah, no, absolutely, yes. I'm part of Avande, a technology service business, but I've been lucky enough to work with the MTC as well. So seeing all sorts of variations across industry, but also across sizes of organisation. I think there's a few things to sort of bring out in your unit. You mentioned roadblocks and challenges and what's happening from an SME space. I think like working with a large organisation, you've got to assess where you are. There's assessing value to start off with. Like one of my colleagues on the panel, it's really about value for you as an organisation. And that might be about commercial value, it might be about changing business model, using digital to do that, to look at maybe servitizing your product. We're seeing a lot of change in terms of not just optimization, but also change revenue model. That's maybe more pertinent to the OEMs rather than downstream, but it does have an impact as well. So I think it's really looking around the ecosystem and what we need to think about. In terms of steps and challenges, I think it's really about that value, some of the gaps. I think the start small, think big, start small is still appropriate, but also as well how do you scale? In large organisations, you might have manufacturing, you might have 50, 60 factories, and that's a different challenge. In an SME, you may have 1, 5, but there's a different scale really in terms of what's going on. And I think the business case has changed. I think it's an easier business case to invest as long as we can articulate value. That might be about financial value, it might be about optimizing resources. I think the solution landscape has changed. We've very much got a lot of cloud capability. So actually starting to talk about connected data and data platforms is becoming much easier to install. I think it's recognised now that digital core, that ERP, potentially manufacturing execution systems in terms of shop floor management, I think that's becoming more prevalent even from an SME space. And then we're in the SME space, we're starting to sort of surround that data model with connected equipment and devices, robotics, etc., etc. So we're seeing a real, I suppose, maturity and acceleration in terms of the model. Well, I think some of the challenges in robots have been knocked down. We'll talk about workers and people and skills in a second. But I think there's a key role for organisations like the high-value manufacturing category, like the MCs, like ourselves, at a different scale, really to sort of show adoption, show use cases, and really accelerate the value chain.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Barry. So Nandini, touching on business models, and we were just having a really interesting conversation kind of before the panel about how business models are evolving. What's your perspective? So when we look at smart manufacturing, how do you think business models will evolve, and what do businesses and business leaders need to think about?
I think I'll start with smart manufacturing. So coming back to what you said about smart manufacturing, absolutely spot on. So smart manufacturing is all about data. How do you use the data more intelligently, more efficiently to make those business decisions? And Industry 4.0, these sort of paradigms have been around for a while, right? So people are talking about Industry 5.0 as well. But what is digital? So without the people, so anything that we do within smart manufacturing, there has to be the human factor within it. So in terms of where businesses are at the moment, small manufacturers, larger manufacturers, if you want an exponential growth, even an incremental growth, you're looking at either new products, or you're looking at going into new market segments. You're looking at strategies for going international, right? But there is a point where businesses start plateauing. And I think this is where connectivity, this is where smart manufacturing comes into play. When you've got your machines connected, when you can get the data of your products, you can actually make better business senses or better business decisions and go into different sort of business models. So one business model that I always talk about is one from Rolls-Royce. So Rolls-Royce, in the last couple of decades, has stopped selling their engines just the way it is. They've gone into a business model which is called sell by the hour, so engines sold by the hour. So when they're selling those engines, they're actually selling packages around maintenance. They're actually getting the data and making those critical decisions as to where an engine would need maintenance as well. So again, digital and smart manufacturing, for me, there has to be a purpose behind it, right? So you talk about circularity, you talked about sustainability, and technology has to be used for a purpose. Technology needs to have an impact. And circular economy, green, net zero, decarbonization, this is a huge area of opportunity for these new and advanced digital technologies. And again, one case study that I always keep coming back to is Philips Lighting Division. They have a business model which is called Signify. So when they sell these bulbs, they have a business model when these bulbs actually go, they don't work anymore, Philips takes it back for recycling. So these bulbs don't get into landfill. So these are some of the new business models that are actually put into place because the data is there, because smart manufacturing is becoming more pervasive.
Brilliant. So I'd also encourage you to, if you've got any questions, I think everyone should have been given the app. I'd encourage you to put some questions up, or if you want to put your hand up, we'll also have some kind of microphones at any point. So yeah, please let me know if you do have some questions whilst we're talking. So on that kind of new business models and I suppose sold as a service, Oliver, is that anything that you've looked at from a business model perspective? And what are your current views on that, and how do you think that will change kind of over that next 10-year cycle?
Yeah, we manufacture sensors, that measure pressure, temperature, level, flow. And we've been doing it since 1847. So the world's first steam pressure gauge was manufactured by Rototherm. And I bought the business with my brother about 12 years ago. So I went from a corporate to a SME. Today's about talking about SMEs. So it was like a baptism of fire going into the SME world. Every decision is on you as the MD. If you do well, it's great. If you don't, people leave by the droves. And I probably had the worst 4 years of my life, probably in that, those first 4 years. And then we started to take things back to basics. What we changed recently, since 2017, so we've been making instruments and we sell them and that's it. And actually, we probably make them too well because they never come back again. And so we were losing an opportunity really to understand what that instrument was doing in its life. So we decided to develop a telemetry device, connect our sensors on site in our customers, and then start pulling that data. First of all, just to ensure the performance of the sensor. So we're going into some pretty critical applications, submarines, into chemical plants, into power generation. But we didn't know what was happening with our sensors. So we connected them, and the initial thought was, let's track that data. Maybe we can improve the design to make the next versions better. What we started to see with the data is we'd noticed that the customers were doing different things with our sensors. So I think the engineers would then call up our customers and say, well, why on earth are you switching off this thing every 3 hours? Or why on earth are you, only filling your tank up at this certain amount of time? Or why are you running it? It's a range of, 0 to 800 degrees, but we only see you running it 100 degrees. And, we get feedback from the customer. Well, we didn't realize your instrument did this, or we picked the wrong item, or, this is the way our process works. So from that, almost by accident, we started then showing the data to the customer, saying, well, look, this is what we're seeing. They're like, oh, that's really interesting. We didn't know that. And then roll on another few years, we brought in some software skills into Rototherm. So we were traditionally mechanical engineers, electronic engineers. We didn't have any software engineers. So we're like, maybe we should get a software engineer. Okay, let's, it's an investment. So let's try, get one guy in and start doing our online portal, which looked pretty basic, and then start passing that to the customer. And then we'd noticed they were logged on 30 times a day onto this platform. So we're onto something here. So again, we developed the platform further to the point we could then go to other customers and say, we're going to charge you now £1 a day. We started one of them for using our platform. And, so every instrument we sold, we then had a recurring revenue. And our financial director was like, well, this is quite nice. We sold this and this sort of money coming in. And then it just went from there. So that was I think that was back in 2018. We had our first sort of foray into it. Roll forward to 2023. We are selling thousands of instruments per year. So we've sold more instruments this year than the previous 5. And all of them are sold with a support and data analytics package on certain product ranges.
How did you navigate kind of the data privacy, kind of legal side around that?
Interesting.
How did you navigate that?
So through mistakes. I mean, if so we, customers came to us and they said, how are you securing our data? And this was the very first few customers who said, we're not really sure. And so, then it's a sudden panic back at base. Right, guys, who's going to learn about securing people's data in the fastest way possible? So So again, it's a massive learning curve. But for SMEs, I can't afford a team of people all the time to go and be analysing this or pulling this data or doing this. So what we are good at is we're really fast at learning. So what we've built in Rototherm is a real spirit of continuous improvement. And when we do things, we do it at pace. Winston Churchill, his famous words, take action today. Do it now. If you're going to do something, do it immediately. Don't wait for a week. Don't wait for a month. And that's the sort of spirit we have in Rototherm. So right, let's knuckle down, work this out, talk to our customers. So we realise the importance of being really close with our customers to learn from them. And at the same time, learn, close with your suppliers, and ask them. So I say, look, this is what we've put together. What do you think? And somebody, well, that's really good, but what about this? This is not so good. What you're doing here. So, and we're quite open. We say, look, we're not the experts. We're not going to be the top end security, but we will make it that way as quick as possible. And it's been a phenomenal learning curve, I've got to say, over the last 4 or 5 years.
Is there anything that you would kind of offer from an advice perspective? So I think from my side that we know the world is going to get more connected. We know that business models are going to change, but it's actually fundamental that businesses protect themselves from a legal governance perspective to ensure that that is in place. And you can learn, and I think sometimes you can say, well, we don't know yet, but there is vulnerability and there's potential risks there. What are some of the things that businesses can do to kind of protect themselves and develop that kind of governance framework?
Yeah. I think Oliver touched a very, very few critical things. Can you hear me now? No? Is this better? Yeah? So I think Oliver touched on some really critical points here, because I think one of the things is we are talking about skills, right? There is a skills gap. So currently there are about 800,000 roles open in manufacturing itself. And this is just going to escalate, accelerate if those right skills. And going into the future, cybersecurity is going to be a huge skill, right? So you're looking at data, you're looking at sharing data, you're looking at making decisions purely based on data. So those little steps that you talked about really touched a nerve with me. So you've got to ensure that you're on that curve to take those decisions. So in terms of coming back to specifically cybersecurity, what happens at the moment and happens very, very persistently is our IT experts sit separate to our manufacturing production engineers, production sites. So the security, industrial control security decisions are actually taken by our IT engineers at the moment. And the solution at the moment is setting up a firewall so that your corporate business critical systems are kept separate from your production industrial control systems. And going forward, it's probably not the right way forward. So in terms of within the UK, so Innovate UK, for example, there are National Cybersecurity Centre in the UK that offers a lot of advice to businesses on this journey of sharing data. So how do you ensure whether a business is actually ready for adopting OT, industrial control systems? There are a lot of academic bodies at the moment. So for example, Warwick Manufacturing Group and Warwick University, who do a lot of research in industrial control systems. And there are support packages that come out of the high-value manufacturing catapult centers, which actually support industries, so small industries, SMEs, as well as large industries, in order to take those right steps going on to securing your industrial control systems. Again, it's very new. So smart manufacturing is a term that's been bandied around for a fair few decades now. But again, have we connected all our industrial control systems? No. Have we connected our MES systems to the shop floor production systems? In most cases, no, because there is still a lot of paper-based systems as well. But there is advice available from Innovate UK, from the National Cybersecurity Centre, from Edge Digital as well, from the local. So Midlands, for example, has a cluster called Midlands Cyber. I've seen one from the Wales Cyber as well, based here at the end of this exhibition hall. So there is a lot of advice available for people. So do reach out and talk to some of these experts who can actually guide you through making those right critical decisions so that you are not exposed to the vulnerability. But also there are these legal GDPR perspectives that you talked about as well.
I think that's the important. The awareness is a lot higher now
Then it, well, you started it quite a while ago, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
from
it's,
that
you
journey.
know, so the awareness is
pioneering
there,
it.
and I think also the tolerance of the customers is a lot less. So I'd say now, you know, if you go in without, if we did the same thing again, I think we'd probably have a different outcome.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, how can you not know this?
Yeah.
And so I think it's a good point. You might not know where to go, but at least if you got the awareness, then you can go and find this information.
Exactly.
So has anyone from the audience got any questions yet that they would like to ask? Or should we kind of continue discussion? Have you got any questions online? There we go. We've got a question here.
That's great, thanks. Chris Probert, Welsh Government, and it's good to see you all. Quick question. I know you've done a lot with TODA and the lean, and as people in this room, I can see that believe in the kind of, lean first, digitize next. I mean, is that, obviously you're on your lean journey at the same time as your digitalization journey, so tell me how the interplay between that kind of leaning the business with everyone involved, and I've seen all of your LinkedIn posts and they're fantastic, and then the digital pathway that you're on.
Yeah. So, for those that don't know, Rototherm is. I'm a lean nut at heart, so I absolutely 1000% believe in continuous improvement. So, within our business, certainly, from the leader's point of view, every day we go in, and we're there to drive waste out of the system. I want people to turn up to work happy, be tapping on their, steering wheel as they're going into work, not being faced with processes not working or just 1,000 cuts every day and you go home. So our lean journey really starts with the people. So you've got to develop your people. Our number one principle is grow your people, and that's absolutely what we do. Invest so much time. Your first half an hour of every day, you go in and you do an improvement. You don't start your job. Twice a week, the entire organization, we've got 120 people. We invest 30 minutes every Tuesday and Thursday just to teach about improvement activity. And as we've gone on that journey and we've got better, we've been able to make our processes more robust. We've been able to cut out a lot of variation in all our processes, and we've developed the people to the point where getting data that's reliable. And I think what we're finding is now the digitalization is a lot more rapid because we've got the base in there. So I think you mentioned Toyota. If you're in Wales, there's a government-funded Toyota program, but anyone in the UK can have it. We've had a 50x return on investment on that Toyota program. They are the best in process improvement than anyone in the world. So why not go and learn from the best? It wasn't, it didn't cost an enormous amount of money. Certainly, again, if you're in Wales, it was maybe £1,500, and that
Incredible.
for each team, it's a 6-month program, has totally transformed our organisation, and bizarrely, they can't fill up the program. I mean, I'm sending more and more teams every time. But from that, we've learned a lot about then the digitalization side. So again, you've got to get the basics in. It's like your foundation. You've got to get your basic and your foundation in before you can do the complex stuff.
Yeah, and Chris, so all the businesses that I've seen, and I suppose even in the business that I ran before that was an SME, so if you digitalise waste, what do you get? The foundation of smart manufacturing is people and culture. It's actually not technology. we often talk about technology, but if you haven't got that foundation layer of people and culture right, you're not going to get that step change. And it's really, there's some really interesting work around people-led digitalization and how fundamental that is to the future of manufacturing. I think lean is a huge
100%.
foundation that all businesses need to have. And it's really interesting because and I don't know what the stats off the top of my head, but lots of businesses still haven't been down that journey. And that actually is a fundamental starting point.
Yeah.
If I talk about my experience, so prior to MTC and all, I spent some time in the telecoms organization. So I worked with Samsung and Motorola. So these are big into Six Sigma. So even though I was not a part of the production side, I was a part of R&D, so developing products. Within the business, one of the things was every individual engineer had to go through a green belt program. So we had to start off with a white belt. Though I was not a part of production, I wasn't a production side person, but I had to have a white belt, get through the culture of Six Sigma and Lean. It was a part of the ethos of the business. Everybody had to go through a green belt program and a project at the end of the day show a successful project, which was all about reducing waste. It's all about 5S and success at the end of the day, isn't it? So
yeah. Have we got any more questions from the audience? We've got one here and one here.
Thanks very much. I'm Andy Jones. I'm a non-exec director of the High Value Manufacturing Catapult. Prior to that, I worked in AstraZeneca as a head of manufacturing innovation. So what's interesting, I think, about this conversation is it's a conversation about technology and improvement and culture. But one of the major failures that I've had through my career is a failure to identify the business driver that is driving this need. And we talk a lot, particularly in digitalization, around productivity and quality, because that's kind of the obvious place. And as engineers, that's where we like to go. But I still think by doing that we are narrowing our opportunities, because you have to start with what's the strategic imperative to the company. So actually, efficiency is not a particularly big driver in life science manufacturing. Speed to market is hugely important. Circularity will become more and more important. So I guess my question is to people, what are the opportunities beyond improvement of quality and productivity? What are the specific business drivers, which I believe is where you should start before you start investing in technology?
So I think for me, as you said, circularity and decarbonization is a big one, right? So technology for a purpose. But the other thing for me is people and skills. So skills is so huge, and especially for businesses like yourselves, Oliver. So retaining employee, we were talking about before the panel about the smile on people's face and how do you measure the impact? Because there is no quantification behind it, right? It's all quantitative. So for me, skills and retention is a huge impact that digitalization can have. Do you want to pick up on that particular bit?
I agree. If you go in driving of how you cut cost out, or it's not the way to you, what's your purpose? Now that's for us, that's where we began, understanding what's the purpose for Rototherm. And part of that purpose is development of our people, growing our people, and it really, from my side, and I've had, in the journey last 12 years with Rototherm in a SME, I've seen the absolute lows of the lows, but we've also enjoyed a few highs as well at the same time. But it's the more we have invested on growing our people and not worrying about what the bottom line says and every single frigging KPI under the planet, the more successful we've been. When we actually stop focusing on the bottom line, bizarrely, it improved. So I think getting your purpose right and then understanding where, back to the previous question, get the basics right in the business, then you can bring in the digitalization. I see so many times, for me, it's so confusing. Everyone's trying to sell you this, digital platform, this, that, the other. I remember, I'll never forget, years ago, I was at a conference and this guy was trying to sell me a 50,000 piece of equipment that would go on my CNCs to tell me that the oil level was running out. And I was like, well, John, who walks there every day, looks at it and he doesn't start the machine if there's not enough oil in. It's like, what on earth? I mean, that's just the biggest waste of money there was. But, I think that's where I was, it then put me off wanting to go invest in some technology. So really understanding the basics first. We've had a wonderful 18 months with the Microsoft Power Apps. That's been a real success for us, where we're able to take data, collect it at the point of occurrence, whether it's on the CNC, whether it's assembly, and if they're having an issue, they get it logged, it's presented in a wonderful way in real time, and then the leadership can get down to that person on the shop floor or into the engineering or into sales, help them. And again, that's helping the people. So then if, you just think your workforce, it's like, oh gosh, I used to wait for a week for someone to come and help me. Now, 10 minutes later, the manager's coming down and making my job easier.
Yeah. Yes. So we'll have the next question. My response to that would be, manufacturing is a community-based business. Manufacturers directly impact the communities they serve. I think we will see a shift to social value being a KPI. And already from the conversations that I have, in lots of businesses, that's the way that people are going to. And I know some of the businesses that I know, directly, and I live in Liverpool City region, looking at how can I make sure that every child within that area has access to A-levels. Actually, a manufacturer can directly have that impact. So it isn't necessarily about productivity anymore. That productivity will be something that's part of it, but I think social value will come in, and you will be more successful that way. We've got a question here as well. Barry, have you got something to add there? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I did try to raise my hand, apologies, and I have got echo. I hope you can hear me okay, but that's a great question, isn't it? I think we often focus on digital platforms, surfacing data, getting visibility. It's a little bit sort of table stakes, some of that, and I think that value conversations, it's so important, isn't it? That strategy, that investment, the operating model Nandini refers to. There's a number of things that enable success. Otherwise, all we ever get is low-hanging fruit, and we can't scale that, beyond factory ROI into the wider business from a broad perspective. I think luckily there are lots of frameworks, examples, strategies, KPIs, use cases out there. And I think there's a lot that the SME community can refer to build their own hypothesis quite quickly. But I think we're all agreeing that foundations and the people culture are fundamental. But we can just look at efficiencies and that true transformation. I think our last question came from life sciences. Did I hear that correctly? Product innovation trials, they can be really sort of squeezed, if you like, which is second sorted from a business point of view. But yeah, that's a good question, good observation.
Thanks, Barry. So we've got one more question in the room, and then we'll wrap up the session.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, great. Hi, Liam Chowdhury from Panellists UK. We're quite early on, or at the beginning of our kind of data, being more data-driven culture. How was the start of that journey for you? And is that more of a continuous journey for you, or do you think you've achieved the level that you want to be at yet?
So who wants to take?
Yeah, it's a journey. It's a never-ending journey. So where are we? We've gone from a business that didn't take any data during the manufacturing at all. Just all we relied on was what was the daily output. That was it. Good day or bad day, daily output. Now I would say, in some of our areas, and it's more the strategic lines, we've got data throughout the process. Maybe 50% is still manual, and then the other 50% is digital. So we've still got quite a way to go from it, but we focus saying, we've got 8 product lines. We've picked the 4 strategic ones where we see our growth, back to your purpose, your strategy. So we've picked those ones to get in terms of the sort of the lighthouse areas. This is how we want to run, and then we're focusing on the second things. Again, we only have 120 people in Rototherm, so we don't have an army of people. But if we can make a few of the areas really awesome in how it works, and then the other people in the business can copy it. So the famous thing, the Yoka 10, sharing knowledge across the organisation. That's a phrase that's banded a lot throughout our organisation. How do we share across the organisation from best practice? And that's where we talked about the people development side. Every Tuesday, Thursday, the organisation is sharing their improvements around the rest of the business, and that's how again that's helped us be more agile. It's helped us speed, of which we've adopted different
But that's data as well, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those, the more you learn, the more you realise how much more there is to do. So it's I think it's the naivety initially of not realising there's there's a mountain of work to do, but we're on the journey. And I wish back when I started, I'd looked outside of Rototherm for more help. I think that's the one. If I did it again, I would look outside, whereas we probably tried to do too much internally.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for the question. So we've only got a couple of minutes left. So just to close the session, we'll start with you, Barry. Can you just kind of sum up in 3 words kind of how you would describe smart manufacturing in the next decade, and that one piece of advice that you would give to manufacturing leaders, for the future?
Yeah, okay. Keep it brief. I think it is about the opportunity. I think lots of core capabilities are already there. But I think it's really about exploiting the opportunity. That might be a social opportunity. It might be a business opportunity. It might be time to market. I think it's just trying to get clarity on that to start off with, really. Let's not forget that it's not about tech. We've mentioned that a few times now. I think everybody knows that, but it's easy to forget. It is about a strategic direction. It is about an operating model, and it's about capability. I think surround yourself with a good ecosystem. We've got HMLC in the room with lots of Nandini. Myself and my organisation. I think it's about getting the right ecosystem of partners to kind of really help accelerate that. You can fast track a lot of these decisions. A lot of people are already resolved, and you can really fast track those considerations. And I think, just echoing one of my panelists there, it's about momentum is a big challenge and a big blocker. It's about things, leveraging what's already known and understood, and really accelerating that journey. So a few tips for me, but I think it's a big change. We've not even talked about Gen AI, and that's going to be super transformative as well.
Brilliant, thanks, Barry. And what about you, Oliver? Three words and kind of
I
advice.
said them sort of very simply. Connected. It's a connected world, and it's going to become more connected. It's digital and it's agile. Without a doubt, those 3, and it's changing. I can feel it from our little perspective faster than I've ever seen it in the last 10 years, without a doubt. Advice I would say is the development of your people by a million miles among anything else. Without that development of your people, you just can't do it. You can't do it yourself as an SME leader. You've got to have your team. So that's my one piece of advice.
I'll go for collaboration. So collaboration between people, collaboration between machines and human beings and data, co-creation. So going back to ecosystem. So as you said, looking outside your business to learn from other businesses of similar sizes as well. And the third one I'll go for is value-based services. So you spoke about connectivity. Connectivity leads to data, and that creates different sorts of business models, and it's all about value-based business models. And in terms of one sentence to sum up is, I'll go with you. So it's all about people-led digitalization. Without the people, without taking them on the journey, digitalization can never be successful.
Yeah, brilliant. And I would sum that up. So for me, it's very much around people, culture, and collaboration. And I think if you're sat here and going, I'm at the start of the journey or I'm halfway through, just remember that there's everyone else is going on that same journey. And my advice would always be to work with the network that is kind of the manufacturing and technology community, because there is a huge amount of support, and there are people who have been there and done that and probably got some of those award wounds, as well as can celebrate those successes. So, you know, don't work in isolation, very much work as part of that community, and you will be amazed at how you develop as a leader, but also how you develop as a business. So, you know, hopefully you guys enjoyed that panel. I thought it was great, and, you know, really nice to hear that actually the future of smart manufacturing, I think we're all saying, is it people? Is a bit of a unanimous takeaway there. So yeah, thanks very much, and yeah, have a lovely rest of Wales Tech Week.
Thank you to Philipa, Nandini, Oliver and Barry for that very insightful, brilliant session and lots of great advice. I mean, I'm not in technology, I'm in creativity, and I've also gleaned quite a lot from that, so thank you for that. Our next session here on the Premier stage is going to be at 1:30, so please do join us for that. We're going to be discussing the power of digital partnership in driving growth and innovation. So have a good break until then, or enjoy the rest of Tech Week, and we'll see you back here at 1:30 hopefully.